throughout this course, we've read a lot of plays, and we've read quite a few that are, completely absurd. There are some plays that seem to be, they're kind of like absurd, and you know that there's a reason for the absurdity, but you can't really suss out what it is, like Beckett's Endgame. And then there are the other plays that are kind of like, they're absurd, but they're absurd in a way that makes it obvious that they're trying to get a point across. And so in this video, I would like to talk a little bit about the usage of the absurd to make a point in relation to Georg Büchner's Woyzeck and Bertolt Brecht's Mother Courage and Her Children. Okay, so a little bit about Georg Büchner, born in Germany in 1813, was a university student, got caught up in revolutionary fervor, yay, revolution, created the Society for Human Rights, published a pamphlet, and then, of course, he pissed off the government, so he had to leave. So he completed a dissertation while he was in exile in Strasbourg, which earned him a teaching appointment at the University of Zurich in 1836, and he died of typhus a year later. So Woyzeck was one of 3 plays, and it was his last one, and in it there are a few characters who they constantly talk about morality and intelligence. Like the captain, for instance, in the first scene that he's in, he trips up Woyzeck by asking him if there's a south northerly wind. So he's kind of offhand, yes sir. So the captain's he's just laughing at Woyzeck. Woyzeck, you're a decent man, but you've no morals. Morals, that's when a person is moral, you understand me? It's a good word. And, I find it funny because you can't use the word that you're trying to define when you're defining the word. And so, when he says morals, that's when a person is moral, you understand me, it's a good word, it's kind of he's just saying it to say it. It's a buzzword. And then later on, in response to the captain saying that repeating that he has no virtue, Woyzeck says, yes, Captain, virtue. I don't have that problem. We ordinary people don't have any virtue. We just follow our natures. But if I was a gentleman and had a hat and watch and a long overcoat and could talk nicely, then I'd like to be virtuous. It must be nice to have virtue, Captain, but I'm a poor man. And in this part, he seems to be equating, morality with how much money you have. With the doctor, it seems that he's just kind of saying things to say things, because they make him seem intelligent, when in reality, I don't think he has any clue what he's doing, because, this is the same guy who's been making Woyzeck eat nothing but peas for 3 months, and so I guess I can understand then why Woyzeck would go a little nutty and murder the mother of his child. But, it's he's equating intelligence with superiority. And the kicker is that he's just making things up. He's just making things up as he goes along. There's a scene near the end of the play where he asks Woyzeck to wiggle his ears for his students. Kind of he's just his entertainment, I guess. But he says, "Now, gentlemen, you see he's turning into a donkey." And, that's not true. in the end, it's kind of interesting because Woyzeck turns out to be the most moral of all of the characters. I mean, yeah, he did murder Marie, but like that was because he was adhering to a moral code of his, and that moral code is, you know, you're the mother of my child, don't sleep around. Now the other example that I wanted to talk to you about was Mother Courage and Her Children, written by Bertolt Brecht. So he was born in 1898 in Augsburg, Bavaria. My take on Brecht is that he was kind of a jerk in college, and he succeeded in pissing off one of his instructors when he was at university in Munich. In 1918, near the end of World War I, he was conscripted to serve as a medical orderly, and during that time he started writing his first play, well, second play, but this was the first one that was actually produced. His first produced play was Drums in the Night, and it was well received, and it earned him the Kleist Prize. He went on to write a play that was very well received in Germany. It was very popular, called Die Drei Groschen Oper, which means Three Penny Opera. He later on, in the 1920s, he embraced communism, which pissed off the rising Nazi party. And in 1933, when the Nazis came to party, they came to party. They came to power. But so Brecht took his family and he fled. And while he was in exile, he wrote many other plays, including Mother Courage and Her Children. He stayed in America for a little while over in California, but that kind of ended in 1947 when the Cold War was gaining steam, and the House of Un-American Activities Committee called him in for questioning, and he's like, oh, nope, not dealing with this, I'm going back to Germany. So he went back to Germany and, unsurprisingly, settled in East Berlin, and he died of a heart attack in 1956. So Mother Courage is chock full of examples of absolutely absurd things. Like, in the very first scene, the surgeon says, they haven't had a war here for such a long time. Without a war, where do you get your moral standards from? War, is not moral. So saying that war is moral just kind of highlights that idea that war really isn't moral. Later on, scene 3, the cook and the chaplain and Mother Courage are talking, and the cook says something about, it's been a nightmare for the poor bloody king, no question. First he had to introduce the salt tax in Sweden to pay for the war, so he's bankrupted all his subjects. Not that he let that get him down, of course. Then he comes here to Poland to give them their freedom. Then when he moves on and tries to give the Germans their freedom, there's a whole lot of them who'd rather not have it, thank you, so he has to string them up and cut their stomachs out and so on. So here he is, getting nothing for all his efforts and kindness, but he does have one thing in his favor. He's doing it all for God, which is a mercy, because otherwise people might say he's doing it for the money. But as it's God he's doing it for, his conscience is clear, and after all, that's the main thing. Which... I actually read this one part to one of my friends, when I was researching for this project, and just We spent a good 5 minutes laughing about that because it's just so ridiculous. He's saying he has to string them up and cut out their stomachs, so he's like torturing them. And then the cook says, so here he is getting nothing for all his efforts and kindness. Oh yeah, kindness, sure, yeah, because, stringing up people and cutting their stomachs out is definitely kindness. Near the end of the play, they're finally kind of, stating directly, this really isn't moral, this is what you did, and people are saying, that's not what I did. And, they're questioning, okay, so why is that moral then, but not moral now? Or why is that okay then, but not okay now? So one instance of that is when Eilif is about to be executed for, burning down a house and murdering the family that lived in the farmhouse. The chaplain says, Eilif, how could you do that? And Eilif says, I've done it before. And the cook says, but that was war. That was during the war. And Eilif mentions, and there's a difference? And the chaplain says, during the war, that was what he was honored for. He was at his commander's right hand. Then the name for it was heroism. The very same deed. Is there no appeal? That just highlights the absurdity of this play, and going back to the very first scene when the sergeant is saying, without war there's no sense of morality. This particular scene harkens back to that. It's basically saying, okay, so what isn't okay now was okay back then. So why are you punishing him for it now? And it just kind of highlights that what's okay in wartime isn't okay in peacetime, and that's somehow okay. So that was why I thought that that scene in particular was very important. I guess that's really all that I have to say on the matter. These two plays, I thought, were very good at kind of taking the absurd and then using it to make a point about society. What you're honored for during wartime can get you executed during peacetime. And with Woyzeck, the people who say that they are the most moral aren't necessarily the moral ones. So yeah, that is my presentation.